Hello everyone, this is generally space-time line setting, high correlation setting, direct signals, directing panels, correlations of behavior line interference, traffic calculation settings. Founders lines of space is that line calculation 10%. The signal correlations lines of Mother Earth, Mother line setting, Mother core line setting, direct signals, Earth line seed pods, correlation setting, direct signals, and plasma calculations lines into crop circles application system is at 10%. I'm here in 10% line setting line position to put that together. You got 30% line setting. All right. So 30 line setting high interference, that's put 70 line streams. Set location near theta lines. That puts you into your alpha, delta, and theta. That's a 3 signature line streaming and set location in your system. Okay, that's going to be track line calculation setting. So you have to be aware of what you're doing through intention. Okay, understand your will, your force, your creation, and your location settings. All right, everything around you is now alive. The indicated setting line interference is setting high calculation to its grounds. The operation surface location is high channel its positions. Remember, everything has a 12 DNA track line setting a conversation system. Okay, this is the dimensional line. It locks this line center and line interference to travel communication system. So you have to be aware of everything through your senses. You have sensory line calculation setting. You have ESP. You have the external sensory perception locations. You have your impulses, correlation line direct signals. Try to understand that everything around you is in position of scan lines. Scan line position of travel communication, setting up behavior line conditions of tone lines, vibrational graph lines. 3 signature lines from interference of 3 million channels per second per mile. Position line calculations high setting. 1 minute position line track line, 60,000 line stream line calculation settings in palpitation line and positions per hour per channel per square. The set correlation setting indirect signal is the heart that palpitates the set location setting to a calculation stream location, which is basically a pacemaker. Now, a pacemaker is the line setting line kinesize setting. It travels this correlation system traction. Now, the direct signals locations comes into gatekeeper and keymaster. The keymaster line setting has a timeline switch. It operates the streamline calculation streamline and set location system to heart line position. The travel communication lines is set lines of calculation string. The allocating line high interference sets position location to its settings. The coloration path changes the reflex line stream interference into your heart reactor. The heart reactor sets line calculation setting to its own calculation line calculation setting into one frame and set location of pi. Now this resets lines that recalculate and redirects its signal locations into your theta communication setting into your realms of travel. I receptor line setting, voicing line grid line conditions, and track communications and high center interference. Hearing through track lines, signal line in, signal line out, right? Coming into calculations lines of the Earth, and direct signal location of space. Okay? Directing panels, operation surface, location systems, operation line setting. It's really understand how to use the adaptation surface instead of location of your systems, right? Because you have to learn how to use your data through its imagination. Now, in that signal line interference, we're coming into imaginary line that you can't see. And the only way to see it is right over left, crossing over. All right, so it's right. One more time. Overcross, undercross, overcross, undercross. So you see it through a line setting, right? So it's like, right? So it's really interesting how you restructure communication of anything information line setting. Digital layers of 12 line platforms. Right? Figurine line interference, confirmation line sending locations into configuration. It's all calculated and modified through digital layers of platform communication. You know, really understand how to use the hydraulics location setting. So it's all calculated and modified once you understand what an imaginary line is. Okay, the team's coming in that set line calculation setting. Now for the beginner line rotation interference, try to get in position locations to its setting of remember who you are through calculation. This puts you in a better platitude line interference into your astral travels, your astral connections, your astral projections. An astral projection, okay, is projecting your settings and how you see through light signature lines in your figure 8 line rotation. That's all it is, a set location line direct signal. Now, you really have to understand how to use it. That's all it is. That's all it is. Correlation setting to the sun and the moon together. They communicate line setting, line interference. Star line, star length, star patterns, star line rotation, star gates, high set calculation setting. Direction of time sequence. Right? When you look at the line communication at night, you see them. Right? Has a correlation pattern, alpha line setting. Signal line, center line interference. Right? Travel. Across the galaxy, setting lines of communication interference. Learn how to use all your senses for your system through emotional line setting. You have to learn how to use it through your behavior location system. Okay? Because there's a new ground line operation to set location to the system. Setting line conditions of heart patterns and heart rate on time sequence. All right, so let's get started, shall we? Okay, travel setting line high position location operation surface is tracking communication settings. All right. So the formula line interference, we got a correlation lines of panels, redirect signals. Now setting panel communication line and direction signals. Remember who you come in this correlation system graph line settings, right? So we're going to add the frame line, okay, to set location of formulas equation. All right. Okay, so signature line stream interference, travel calculation streamline. So it's going to travel out. All right, so it's just going to travel out settings, okay, indirect signals and set locations. All right. So it's going to set lines of 3 lines into 4 line perimeters and 5 lines and 6 location of 7 and set location of travel. Okay, that's it, done. So waiting on signal, we're going to set the graph line stream. So 12 lines measures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Set cross line stream 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Set graph line settings. Put in 0 lines of 1 lines. Calculation of 4 zeros. Calculation of 6 0 line settings. Calculation lines of 10 line 0 line settings. And position location of 12 line 0 line settings. You track communication of graph line stream. So the course line setting sets redirect signals. So we circle line rotation interference into 24 lines of zeros and set location setting in 24,000 line and heat signature line rotation surface and set location of travel. Done by equation. All right, it's all set up. All right, so we're back in setting high track communications. Remember this recognition timeline and time frame position traction. All right, so in high position locations, we bring it down as signal line setting. Okay, recognition of time sequence. So heart generation line stream, heart reactor timeline sequence, puts position of patterns. All right, so we come into a vortice line stream, lock line signal into new flux capacitor change. This changes the direct location system to your behavioral line setting and travel line lock line stream locations in system. Okay, see the flux capacitor. All right, so we change line signals. 3 panels, line streamlines. Okay, this allocates position location of 6 track lines and vertebrae line rotation surface. Okay. Okay, so it has that set up line interference. We spot the line conditions of probes. We set up 6 probe line centers of centers. 1 position of 2, 2 positions of 4, 4 positions of 8, 8 positions of 12, 12 positions of 24, and 24 back to 0. It's set location of travel, a set line connection. Okay, now directing patterns, we have to set up the line setting, okay, into position, right? Set up line settings in position locations, all right? Now setting signals, line sign, high line interference, traffic communication streamlines. 6 basically sets up the communication stream. We circle line rotation, we send the opposite direct line settings into frames. We go into 1 frame set location of travel, okay, set locations, done by equation. All right. So the 1 frame is set up line interference. If you look really close, you can see the connections of its tunnel, of its hallway. You can see the test direct line setting. See it? It's travel locations. Don't look at this, look at me. Okay? You guys got to get in that frame line. Okay, that's the only way you're going to see location system. And when you're looking at something, look at me through right and left. Do not look at me straight. Don't look at me 2 panels lines. Okay, because there's no platform. It will drop. A hologram line setting has to be right. If it doesn't have a platform, you can't communicate with it. You understand? So right over left, left or right, cross, right? This is what you have, a platform, right? Hologram comes up. And it goes back down. Okay? So that's the correlation line direct signals, how you really have to set position to its behavior location setting, because it clocks its channels per lines, per circle, per square, per set location. Okay? All through channel setting. All right? All right, so signal line, streamline, indirect signal sets platitude line center high in positions. So we come in at dome center and set location of travel. Okay? So it's really interesting when we look at fragmentation stream locations. Directing signals, panels, operation line set locations. All right, so we inline setting high interference and 0 lines, high set location. Now, if you look really close, you can see it travel, right? See? So I turn it, right? As soon as I turn it, right? Don't look at this, look at me. Always look at me. Do not look at the picture. That's the frame you guys got to get out of. If you're looking at this, it's not traveling. Look at me, because I'm behind. Everything's behind, which means it's the other side, which means to the side that you have to be on. Because the thing is, I'm from inside, looking outside. You're looking from outside in. You see how that works? You're looking from outside in. Look from inside out. Okay? That's how you guys have to proceed in location. All right, so directing lines of panels, graph lines in one signature, stream lines in one frame position. Okay? This correlates line setting, high calculation lines as direct signal. Okay? Now, this is where it gets tricky, because we set the electrical line walls, the 3 set line setting calculation stream. Directing lines and set location line setting and high center interference and set locations, right? Now, the signature line interference of its modem line rotation surface has a magnetic line of a charged center line connection setting. Directing signals, set lines of center line, operation surface, and set locations, okay? Now, this platitudes this line setting into triangulation sets, okay? In that direct signal, we go through the equal line calculation setting and their circle line rotations and position locations, all right? That's how it's set up, okay? Now, setting that line interference comes in I-line division. This is where we come into a probe line and an orb in a rotation surface location setting directions. Okay, this directs the signals. Now we got a light signature line stream. Electrical line wire sets lines of one line position, operation surface. Correlates to line centers and high calculation settings and 3 tethers in correlation setting directions. Now directing signals, we cross the stream. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Crosses line stream location setting directions. Walkway surface, we cross the line setting at 144. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And set location line directions. Now this directs line center line interference. The travel communication comes in as 0 line, 1 frame, 1 calculations, 1 pi, and direct signal at set locations. Right? Done by equation. All right, so that's set up. Okay, so we're going to frame that set line interference, and we're going to come back and travel set line calculation setting directions. Now, directing the console line interference is 0 line travel. So we take the 0 line correlation, we cross its signals. All right, crossing lines is high set location system. Indirect signals to its ozone, biosurface, biokinetics, size graph line interference, synergy line rotation interference, and travel calculations. All right, crisscross line setting. Okay, so that travel line center line interference comes into a ground line. This washes its system locations at 12 set locations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. See the walking center? See how you walk the path in set location inside position? That's how it's set up. All right. Walking line, center line interference. We crisscross the line string. We redirect the signal line and position locations into 3, into 4, into 5 set line string locations and directions. Okay. Now, in that signal line and line rotation interference, we take the communications, center lines. We take the 3 0 lines, the 3 set location settings. We take the atom line and center. We crisscross calculation setting and position attractions of the moon. The moon sets line calculation string line. Now the sun comes in the line signal, operation surface in the opposite direct location setting and directions. Now if you look crystalline line interference, you can see the Earth. See the Earth line? Right there. Boom. Right? Center correlation direction is center its calculation setting. It's directing signals all over the panels of all calculation. Right? It's all set up now. Okay? So in mobilization line, setting line and position becomes the Earth line, rotation surface, and track calculation setting, and direct signals, and all calculation setting, and position location of probing, line condition of lines, higher interference, and travel communications. See? There it is. Done by equation. All right, so in that position, we set up position of track lines, formula equation lines. Now we go into 70 line signals. Equal lines, position locations, founders of space, equal line conditions of Mother Earth. Center line position locations, atom / Eve. Calculation lines, electron, and position locations in line center interference. AI, calculation streamline, communication center, directing signal locations. All right. Now, in direct line centers, you become the awareness, you become the intelligence, you come into the communication setting lines, and center line rotation surface, and set location of ground lines operation. Okay. Now, this operates the communication lines as circle, rotation setting, directing the lines at all levels of awareness, 2 bracket line centers of hangers and set location of travel. Now, this directs the signals, 2 box line rotation surface and correlation, directing signals, center communication redirects signals and set location of settings, trying to find the balance, heart direction of time sequence, and set location of travel and set location. Okay. So in that line interference, we bracket the location of founders of space, we bracket locations of Mother Earth, and set location of 70%, and that's 30 lines of set locations, and line interference, 100% location, and line calculation setting, and direct signal into your avatar sequence, done by equation. All right, so all set location setting position, right? So in that track line interference, the conditions of the atom rotates the center of center communications of directions, all right? Done by equation, all right? So the highest formation line center, time travel line centers, 1 line calculation streamline, 2 position locations in 3 lines, 3 graph line setting, indirect signal in position locations, 2 pyramid set lines and calculation string, directing signal line settings, 3 panel correlation setting, indirect signals and set locations. Okay, done by equation. All right. So that's going to travel. Okay, gone but still there. Okay, sequence line setting the streamlines. We bracket the line center line interference and set location of travel settings. Okay, direction of time sequence. So in line calculation setting, space, communication line interference, SP, comes into A line setting. All right, SPA line, C lines in high center interference, E line calculation setting, SPACE. All right, RESPE, CT, respect. So in that set line calculation line setting, we take the energy line, we take the communication line, we take the relay line, we take the atmosphere line, and we take the space communication setting directions. Now, directing signals in the line setting high interference, we change the communication to its atom line and position line condition of time. Okay, timeline sequence line interference, 7th dimension. Center correlation setting high position of travel. Now, this directs signals in line setting, travels calculation, outline calculation setting. 3 direct signals in the sun of calculation stream. This redirects the signals in 3 lines of panels, operation location of system. Travel calculations E line and position a half pipe. Center calculation, streamline rotation, center calculation setting into a black hole, that's that location of travel. Now the travel line center line interference comes into A line setting. It rotates its surface location into its mind and a collaboration surface is that location of center. The operational line center line interference. So it's like a clam, but this way it's going down. First it was this, now it's this. So the center calculation of the line directs signals into the sun of the operational line directs signal of space and time and correlation. Directing signal lines of panel correlation setting and direct signal, cross and stream and set location line setting. high calculation lines, creating a platform and set line calculation setting right over left and left over right in new ground line rotation to surface. Okay, now it's set up. Okay, so right over left, left over right. Make this line setting, circle line rotation, and set lines into a hologram stream, directing signals and set lines at 3 measures in correlation setting and direct signal. Okay, there's a hologram. Hologram is now going to surface out and travel calculation. Send position location, the panels, operation, line setting, and 0 calculations. See how it travels out? Done by equation. All right. So that's also going to travel set locations. Gone, but still there. How are we all doing? It's amazing what we're seeing, right? Seeing beyond the line stream through the visionary line, imaginary line, plasma line, visible line, right? That's what it is, okay? So once you understand that recognize line setting and you understand your body of consciousness, you can finally get into adaptation of plasma, right? Plasma moves in all set line conditions, right? Okay, so instead of this, you know, like I say, hey, how's it going? What? Hi, right? You're more in a rotation spin. So it's getting more balance and it's getting you guys out of the glitch, right? So it's an infinity line rotation and center calculations, all right? And that's set location lines. Radar line rotation and calculation streamline. Recognition of time, state location of the pi. It's a pie chart recognition of time sequence. Puts position locations into your settings. This opens all signal location in your system, okay? Through travel calculations and mechanisms. All right. So inline setting and position of traction. It's great to see everybody. Geneva line interference, any calculations, Tina line position locations, all levels, Johnny, high calculation setting, Danielle, Prismar, it's all direct signals, location of travel, directing signals, high center interference. Gypsy's not here, but she's still here because I see her. All right, so signal lines of streamline, recognition of time sequence, what's position of platforms. Okay, so you really have to understand the formulas equation now. So it's going to get really tricky now. The center line communication lines of 0 line operates the surface, setting correlation, setting directions, all right? Directing lines, signature lines, and stream lines into 0 lines of gravity line rotation surface, okay? Now, in that line, center line interference, we strip line communication of 3 set line connections, all right, directing signals. Center communication and center line, travel set position location as center, okay? Now, in that direct signal line interference, we set up position location of higher calculation, okay? Now, in that signal, it travels line signal, okay? So it changes its pattern, direction of time sequence of pi, and its position of travel. Now, in direct signal line interference, it comes back into set location, see? Center correlation setting into the sun of its operation surface, sets correlation panels and line setting in directions, all right? Now, as it comes in direct signal, we set up a line string, center correlation setting in position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, track line calculation setting and directions, okay? Now, getting into that direct line setting, the heart reactor line stream interference sets line condition setting and position locations into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 set line stream locations and directions. Gravitational locks. Okay, we go into ground lines, artery locations in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and set location of travel. Okay, done my equation. It's all set up. All right, so in that rotation surface, we go through signature line streams. Okay, done, but still there. So we go through formula lines of 1. So 1 equals lines of frame. The frame lines equal locations of correlation. All right. Correlation line signatures. So you got pattern line interference, signature pattern, correlation direction signals, alpha line centers into delta and theta, and position locations. 1 center line calculation setting, 1 equals lines of omega, and set correlation setting in planet surface and set location. Okay, done by equation. So in that signature line stream, we take the 1 line graph into formation lines of 1 time sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You need to have 12 platform line signatures, crosses lines over cross position, okay? Now, in that direct signal, you can actually see it come together, right? So the signature line centers of communication, same line center interference. See the heart line? rotation surface, right? Directing the lines. So we've got 3 calculation settings. We got 0 line, 3 lines set in location of 4. Sets position of 4 lines, equal line calculations of 3, and 3 0 line position of track line communications, and time sequence line setting. Now redirect the lines of zeros and center communications. 4 line signatures, 3 lines high calculation position of travel. Directing line center line interference. In position location of 1 and 0 operation in center calculations of crop circle. Directing lines of patterns, the correlation of graph line settings and direct signals. So there's 4 lines of 0 and 3 lines of set locations and track. So we bracket the 4 line zeros, we bracket the 3 line indications, put 7 lines of channel and center communications. Right? Done by equation. All right? Now the rotation spin line sets line correlation setting and directions. Okay? Now in that signal line interference, it travels this line setting high calculation streamline position. Now this comes into an atom line rotation surface and set location and directions. Okay? Done by equation. Ooh-ah. All right, so that's a signature on setting the high position of travel lines. Okay, so as we come into space-time creator, line signature line setting, your one frame is set at location setting. 70 calculation set lines, high interference, 30% line position location of space and time, and center calculation setting. So that's in track line setting, high interference. We take the 10% of space, okay, take the 10% of center, and take the 10% locations into Earth in set locations, right? Equal lines calculations, high interference, 3 weather patterns. Calculation line and directions. So we change the 3 lines of 4. Calculations is high center of 3, and set location line centers of 3, and set location of travel. Now this directs the 3 lines, and 3 lines of calculation stream. Now this redirects signals, graph line stream interference, bracket communication setting, direct signals, and set locations. Center calculations, graph lines of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Set location and directions. Travel line, 0 line rotation surface, and 0 calculation. Okay? Now in that signal pattern, we go through rotation line setting, a high circulatory line communication of travel setting. This redirects line centers and line signatures. So we take the 12 line graphs, correlation line interference, we take the 310 line setting, high interference, 10 positions, 20 positions, 30 line rotation. Okay, it's all set up. Now in that direct signal, we have to learn how to really understand the high set location of setting. Okay, this comes in orb channels, probing lines of 3 line set location center interference. So that's 10 lines, a position of 3 in set location of travel, 3 line settings, right? Travel communications in a 4 and a 5 in pyramid line rotation center and calculation stream. Now this directs the signals. The correlation line interference, that's 12 lines positions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 across the stream locations, right? Directing signals. Comes in calculations, center direct line centers in position to the moon. Center line interference in the sun. Now the sun sets lines of in position location of travel. Now this redirects signals in set location setting. High calculation line. So the sun comes in position locations and future adaptation surface and travel set location of setting. Okay? Done by equation. See how powerful that is, how it's all set location? All right, so it's going to get more tricky, right? Because it's getting more complicated, right? Really understand how to use the formulas, equation, location in your system. You start with your dimensional line settings and location, your solar location sales. So then you go back to the line center and high interference because the heart line rotation surface has to understand the location grid. So in travel communications, gone, but still there. So you got a location grid line and travel set location, right? That's location grid. The avatar sequence is set lines high interference, and set location lines high center calculation streamline and redirect signals as locations. Panel correlation setting and triangulation interference and travel calculation setting to its Merkabah test architecture region. Correlation panels and operation stream. Now it directs the signals in center position. Operation line settings. Travel calculation setting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Set locations, right? Travels lines in center position. Goes through, down through equation, right? So in that travel calculation line interference, sun comes in the opposite line directs signals and set locations. All right. Now in that set line interference, the moon sets line connection magnetic line setting high operation stream location setting direct signals and set locations. All right. Now this puts a line calculation setting. This was an alkaline calculation setting. Right. Occupied, calculation streamline, tentacle line interference, tentacle set lines and high line interference, a 3 set location of 5 and set location of travels, 555, travel communication line setting, 777, position like track lines, line connecting high line interference. Now the travel lines of 7th dimension line interference is 4 over 3. That's 7 line connecting line system, 1 perimeter, 1 pattern. Sets correlation setting, a new 0 ground line operation surface and set location of system. Okay, done by equation, right? So it's complicated, right? Trying to figure out what's going on with set line communications all through one line setting. It's very powerful, right? Coming into the all lines of 0 to 12 set location of patterns. It's got its own behavior line rotation. It's got its own emotional system. It's all got its own psychological line conditions, and it's got its own mechanism line setting of travel through its own geometric operation of design. The center position location of travel line setting. You have to really recognize the communication system of its process, right? Through all calculation set location. Okay? All right. So in sequence line interference, light years. We come into one line, 1 equals 1 frame. Okay, so the frame changes the bracket lines, center line condition, high center interference. Z front, now the Z front line changes its position location of travel settings. Now we take the lines of 3. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3 line signature patterns, position of top line signal. Sending lines of 3 lines, crisscross locations, right? Directing signals, line calculation setting. There's the 8. Rotating surface, the sun comes in, location setting, and direct signals, and position of travel. Okay. Now the moon line crosses stream into the 1 line frame, crosses line center into the opposite directions. 1 line signals cross lines of the sun, triangular line interference and set location high setting directions. Now, directing signals, we come into position location to its diamond core and 2 set location of travels and set locations. Okay? Now, we go through the center line. The center line changes programs. Program line, center line interference sets our communication setting and set position. Now, that directs signals comes in line calculation setting into scan line, crop circle location system, and travel calculation. Now, directing that line interference, the sun comes back in set location lines and changes its frame. Its center calculation streamline and set locations. All right, travels lines, signature lines. So in that set lines high interference, we take the 3 lines of high center interference, and then we add the 1 frame equal line calculation setting to 4. 1 equals 4, right? So we got to have a perimeter line position of 7th dimensional lines, equal line calculations into 3, 7 in system and center position, right? Straight cross down, signal line setting. Triangulation into a diamond core line stream, okay? So it's amazing how he set up a tesseract line setting high center interference. 10% of space, 10% in center, and 10% in set location and directions of Mother Earth, the correlations of nature, directing signals and set locations, right? Okay, so we go through the center position and set line calculations. Okay. Now, it disappeared. Traveled too fast. Okay, so it's there through signal. Okay, so when you get at line interference, we platted 2 lines of space and time. This redirects the signals, crosses streams, graph lines, crosses streams, graph lines, crosses streams, graph lines, crosses streams, graph lines, all the way up to 12 set location of settings. Okay, so the mechanism line interference, we calibrate the line stream. This sets lines of high calculation setting in the oscillological locations of patterns. This redirects signals into pattern communications, all right? This sets up coordinates and set lines into light years and set location of 12 line settings and redirect signal and set locations of platforms done by equation, right? So the platform line center line interference of time sequence line setting is now in a clock line rotation surface and set locations. Right? Okay, done, but still there. How are we all doing so far? Getting track communication and set operation to surface. I know, right? It's powerful stuff, isn't it, Trinity? Okay, so redirecting signals is really stand on line, graph line, screen location of center lines of Fibonacci line swirls and directions, right? Now we understand direct line setting, but you understand the communication sets high center interference. So we change the track communications, 69, 69, and 69, all right? Space line, equal line conditions of 10% and top location, right? So timeline sequence line interference sets position locations and 10% on top locations, right? Center operation, yin and yang process line setting, 10% of both line communication system. Okay, done by equation, right? So you have to really understand how the yin and yang process line set line communication setting to position location of 6. You see the 6 line communication? And then you come in the line center line interference inset locations into the 9. You can see the 9. It's very powerful how it flows its direction time sequence inset locations, right? So we take the line setting line interference, travel calculation line setting position 70, 70, and 70 position, right? That's percentage of center calculation setting, indirect signals, and set location. Okay? All right, so we bracket the 60 lines of space, bracket lines of center of 69, bracket lines of location of time, and set line calculation setting. So we take the 6 and the 9 line setting, we take the 6 lines of center line, and we take the 6 and the line in position of time and sequence location of patterns. Now this directs signals location system into a line center of a clock line rotation surface in position location of travel and line calculation setting and direct signal. Okay? Now, this puts a redirect signal into pi and 3 set line calculation streamlines. Okay, now, get into graph line streamline interference. We set the 70 line centers of 12. We set the 70 line conditions of 12. We set the 70 line calculation interference of 12. 12, 24, and line setting, 24, okay? Comes into 34 lines of 2, which is 36 in center positions. That 3 lines over pi, 6 over moon in line rotation, center calculation streamline, and center direct signals and set locations. Okay? Now, directing line signature lines is stream communications, all right, to your pyramid line setting. Okay, all through your theta line rotation surface and set location of grounds. Okay, that way equation. It's all set up now. Okay. So behavior line center, done, but still there. Okay. So it's amazing how you set up formulas, equation line stream, right? Is everybody understanding what's going on right now? Watching all the lines, it's all up and huge diamond core increase. Yeah, but see, that's it. You guys get upgrades even though you don't understand the setting. But you understand the imagination line is always, always, always there. Right? It's always, always there, right? It's there, right? Because you can see it, right? Because you're at that line setting. So in that position location, everything through structure is calculation setting into a box, calculations of a letter, inline conditions of a shape, or line conditions of a symbol, inline and inline rotation setting location to a system. Okay? So we all have to understand how to use the frequency of the vibratory line rotations. Now, the box position location center has 2 graph line settings and 3 set locations, high center interference, and 3 set locations. All right? This redirects lines of 3 and redirects lines of 3 in triangulation across the strain lines. Mechanism lines of box lines comes into your key line frame line. Calculation of your space bars 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 set locations. All right? Computer operational line screen. This is your computer frame line set location of travel. Now, directing signals lines of high center interference is calculation of your sun in your kaleidoscope location system to your moon line rotation. Directing line signature line streams is line calculations to a half pipe. Set locations in the box line, triangulation line setting. You look really close, you can see the 6 and 9 position. Everything comes into 6 and 9, guys. You have to recognize the communication, right? So it comes in a clock line, rotation lines of 24, 48, 72, okay, into 144 clock line setting or redirect signal location system. Travel calculations, box lines, travel line setting, center locations of north and position location east, center calculations across and stream, vortex line, center line, and position locations into west, and we go into south line travel and set location and setting directions. Now, it gets a lot more complicated because now we're centering this correlation setting of 6 and 9 position location to the 7 line stream interference. 6 position locations. There's the 6, right? And there's the 9. That make question? Now, we take the keyboard line setting, signature line streams. We have the lines of zeros and top locations. Right? That's where you are through indication. 212 signature line patterns and set line conditions nice setting. Your keyboard frames, your key lines, high center interference is travel calculation navigation. Right? That my question. Okay. Another world beyond the portal, very active and green. Yes, anything green line is a heart direction of timeline times sequence times pi. Okay, it's all set applications to your system, right? Because the thing is, to understand your keyboard line setting is understand your frame lines of zeros and 12 set locations. Right? So we all have to understand how to use the foundation graph lines, right? So again, we go through the box line rotations and rectangular set location setting, 4-point set location settings and direct locations, spacebar, center line rotations, all right? Number sequence patterns, correlation system, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 sets locations, right? Directing signals. Now we have a constant communication of center in one position. Okay, track calculation setting, directions. Now this kaleidoscope sets one line in position locations to Pluto and set line calculation string. This redirects signals of panels. Now the panel calculation set lines a 3-line rotation surface and set location of travel. Directing signal lines crosses line direct signals and set locations. Now the mechanism of line interference sets line connections of course line, 3 lines of 4 in position of 5 set location of travels. Graph lines in position of pi. Pi in position of track lines goes to its radar correlation setting and directions. Directing signals. Now the moon sets line calculation setting goes into the same circle in the same direct signal in the same rotation surface and set locations. Okay, done my equation. All right. So the inhibitor line interference is now a box line. We have circle line communications. We colored in line settings in black, 4 black line settings in white in set location of box line center, and 4 direct signals in set locations and directions. Now directing line signature line stream, we set lines calculation into 3 lines in positions. We start with the 3-line communications and directions, all right? This center calculation lines are 4-line stream locations in high setting. Now in the high setting and high interference, this comes in position locations to higher calculation setting, to your theta communication setting, the box line calculation setting, and 2-track communication system. So the 2 box line set locations. All right. Now the mechanism line interference changes correlations of panels. Now we got 3 box line settings. Okay, there's a box. It's allocation of travel lines. Here's a triangle. Triangle line connections a box. So the heart line recognition of time sequence is trying to understand its GOD of its own pattern communication of its cosmic universal location of string line. Triangulation line interference and set location of travel settings. Okay, directing positions. Now in that directing signal, you have to understand how to use the 2 panels operational line settings of 4 mechanisms of high calculation setting and probing. Redirect line stream interference, colorate the lines of box lines, triangulation line setting in high set location system, and travel calculation. Okay, done by equation. Very powerful set location systems. Okay. All right, so that's going to line signal and out of equation. Okay, so we got equation line box, equation setting. Equaline calculation lines. So we take the 70-line signature line rotations in position of 10% on top location. Right? So the 7-line signatures box line set locations into theta. Theta becomes its teleportation. So that's TT, right? So in that line interference, line high interference equals lines of 4. Now the 4-line travels lines of 3, and 3 lines of 3, and 3 lines of 3, and 3 patterns in correlation of travel settings. Directing signals of 3 lines, 6 lines, and 9-line calculation. Now, directing signals is really understand how to use the heart, mind, and soul of redirect location settings, guys, all through equation of formula, right? So we take the 70-line track lines, setting directions, all right? So that's 30% of space, 30% of center, and 30% location system in space. So that's 3 lines of setting, 3 lines of operation, and 3 sublocations. Into 0 of calculation streamline and redirect signals as application. Okay. Now in that panel, the operation ground line is set lines of 30-line rotation surface travels its line signals and bracket communication setting and direct signal. Okay, so we have the sun line, streamline. Sun comes into the opposite direct location system, crosses lines at high calculation stream locations. Okay, very complicated. All right, but it's all set up now. So the sun and moon are track communication of its dimensional, so line direct signals, line connection line setting, 70% location of 30% line setting, 70 over pi, 3 line set line interference, heart, mind, and soul correlation setting, 3, 6, and 9, Indicate line interference to 6, 7, 8, 9 line setting line interference. Position locations into 10, 11, and 12 and set location setting. Into 24 grounds of operational lines, 24,000 line signature patterns, in walk surface locations into 144 a graph location. Done by equation. Woo. But that's what it is in traction. We're going to keep that. Okay. Setting position of track line, setting direct signals and set location of setting. We come back to this line, set locations, right? So every time we come back, we're moving forward. We don't go back. We're just changing frame. When we change frame, we change imagination, which changes the imagination line, adding frame, adding frame, adding frame. Okay? There's no going back. This is not going back. This is going forward, adding frame. Okay? So in that signature line setting in direct signals, you come into Hall calculation setting directions of zero line correlation direct signals, high calculation line stream, and set location of high setting. Okay, done by equation, right? So it's amazing how you really, really look at it now. It's amazing how it's set location system. See the capsule line, see the earth line, see the calculation setting to all position location travel settings. It's amazing how you set locations, right? You have to go beyond to see beyond, right? Okay, so in that track line, we're going to keep that and set line high interference. Now we're going to go into set location setting, inline traction. So we're going to add frames to this line setting. Okay, mechanism calculations, zero lines of flux capacitor, traffic calculation, 3 lines set location setting directions, right? So we circle lines, traffic communication, telepathy wires, direction of time lines, triangulation lines, center line position, a 3-point view, and set locations in the setting. Now, directing lines, we go through positions of high. This redirects signals, correlation setting, direct signal, high line rotations, ground line operation, stream line, set of correlation triangle line, high interference line, signature line stream, X line setting, line rotation, center line rotation interference, traffic calculation, stream line, direct signals, high center interference, traffic calculation setting, pyramid line rotation center, calculation line, direction signals, and high center interference. In position location to its intelligence, information line stream, in set location line, redirect signal line, calculation setting, heart reactor line, division locations, operation surface, into calculation cloud line, change line, operation stream location system, in intelligent line signal, and operation setting, and calculation stream location. Right? Correlation setting. Okay? It's all done. It's all done. Okay, so that's going to be that line. It's going to width line, center line, the center line rotation. It's gone, but still there. How's everybody doing so far? Transformation motorcycle of the Empress in flight. Seeing a cousin who was a pilot. Well, you've seen line calculation setting and auto direct set location system. Okay, so come in line center interference, spot lines, and redirect signals in set location system. Okay. Now, what's going to happen now is the calculation setting. This is where we come in the molecular lights, molecular structure lines. We strip the lines of film strip line setting directions. All right. So we get correlation setting, and we redirect locations of white lines and set lines of travel, correlation of travel settings, and redirect signals and set location, high setting, and position. Okay. Now, inline rotation interference, we change the line signatures to string. This redirects the panels. Okay, so in correlation setting directions. So inline center line interference, it comes into box line channels. Okay, inline rotation interference, block location settings. This is where we come into the out of line rotation. Okay, I'm setting signature line streams. Okay, position line setting. Directing signals, point lines, spot line channels, story graph line interference, dereception calculation, streamline, and directions. Now, directing lines of panel lines, operation stream locations, the heart position timeline sequence, little dot signals, and set location lines, like looking under a microscope. Okay, so this is what you're going to see through line signals and set location of travel, and line center interference and travel calculation setting, and direct signals to the heart line rotation surface in 3 valves and high center interference and travel calculation. Okay, it's all done. Multipath. It's all set. Hooah. Okay? It's amazing how you set lines, calculation, setting, and directions. So, you really have to understand how this all works. in all position location of track communications. Gone, but still there. See? Disappeared on its own. All right. So it disappeared. It went up line center interference, but this is what it is in up close location. All right. That's what it is up close. Okay. It's amazing how you set line condition setting direction system. Okay. Is this fun or what? All right, so the signature lines, heart direction, timeline, sequence lines, set locations into protons, electron, neutrons. Modification lines, if you look at the block line rotations as square lines, see the squares? See the squares? All right. Now they're going to move through signature line patterns. Okay. So every time I signature line my finger, it changes the block center. Okay. So I'm putting 0 lines as set location of travel settings. Okay. So we set locations. All right. Change the black signature line stream. Directing signals of 0 line and 0 line and 0 line and 0 line for set locations. Now, directing lines of panels is line cross lines, airline rotations, airline rotations, airline rotation settings, direct signal. Okay. 2 panels, operations, set location, settings. The intelligence, directing line center line interference. We crisscross line streams, line communication line setting, directions. Okay, so we come into triangulation line settings at 3-point system locations and setting. Okay. Okay. Diamond core swirling, yeah. So we crisscross line stream and set lines calculation. Okay. Now in that direct signal, to come into this position location of 0 line, you always have to have your grounds of your 0 position location of traction. Okay. Now this comes in position location to its operation line setting. Okay. Now, once you understand how to use the line centers of 0, 0 travels line signatures of space and time set location of setting directions. All right. So we go through 12 signature line settings in both line calculations, space and time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And set location line setting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And set location setting directions. Center position of center line. 7 in the position locations. 5 equals lines. Calculation lines. Pi line direction of time sequence. 3 set location setting. Equal lines of 2. Center of 7 and set location your time sequence and time lines times pi. Okay, done by equation. It's all set up now. All right. And so when you get a signature line stream interference, we change the line conditions of pi in 3 line sets. So that's 15 million line settings and set locations. 15 million lines of 6, 15 million lines of 9, and 15 million lines of 12. All right. Correlation lines of diamond core, recognition of time lines, center line rotation center, and center position. Okay. Done by equation. All right. So we all have to understand how everything works in your line setting to its direction, but it's amazing how you go through structural formulation. All right. Okay, so we're going to keep that, and then we're going to come back to this lines of frame line, set lines, high set location of sun, and redirect signals. So the center calculation is 2 panels, splitting lines of S line rotation. See the S line in the center? Okay. Now it's deceiving, right, to patterns, because you have to see it through imagination line setting. Imagination line becomes its line set location of its data stream. It's a data stream lines to electrical box that sets locations to its position of travel calculation settings, right? Now in that direct signal, you have to go through the center line as set position location as center positions of operation. Okay, see how it disappeared? It disappeared because it was going too fast. You guys are not ready. All right, so it's signature line settings. It's going through 12 million miles per second in a 12 signature line of correlation setting. Okay. Now in direct signal, we set up line centers of 3 track locations in 3 settings. Okay, see the triangulation? Now in that direct signal, we set up another 0 platform. That 0 platform comes together into one position of one container. Okay. Now that container line strips its line setting. So we cross the signals. Now when you cross the signals, you have to be very cautious because you're centering your correlation setting and redirect signals in set location of travels. Read line setting a high interference and bring in 6 and 9 in set location high setting in position of its clock lines in high calculations of 0 to 9 and 12 lines of 24 sequence. Done by equation. Okay, look at it. Look how powerful that is. Look amazing when you understand the holographic line. How it creates its own calculation of its structure. Look, it's moving. You can see it moving. See? Right? You see it moving, right? That's what it is. So that's going to be line signaling into Megan's lines. Gone, but still there. Flying high, yep. All right, so there's a lot of formulas equation that has to be set up to the ground lines. Okay, to possession location of center line, one line strip, directing signal line set location in your system, right? Putting you guys in track communications set directions now, right? So the formula line setting, line interference is 70/3 and set lines calculation setting. So that's 30% line calculation setting and directions, all right? Each signal lines of space and time. The center correlation line direct location is position of 30, in position of 30, and in position of 30. And 70 goes on top, and each line calculation streamline and set line connection setting directions. Now we take this 70 line and the 70 line track communications into a box line rotation. Centers position locations of two lines of panels of operation string. Now directing signals, travels lines of center lines and position locations into yin and yang. Process line stream location. Directing signals, another zero line rotation surface, correlation setting, direct signals, zero calculation setting, and directions. See, it disappears, goes too fast. Setting position of traction. Okay? Now, when you get the center communication line interference line conditionalized center interference of 30 line rotation in position of space, position location height interference of center communication line interference, correlating line interference of time calculation setting, 3 line position of flux bias communication line direction, signal line interference, and travel communication. Done by equation. Center calculation, 7th dimension. Rotate the surface, travel line signatures, and 12 signature patterns, and line calculation setting, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Done by equation. All right, so you really understand how to direct signals and line setting. Okay, so we use the one frame, box line rotations, and 2 box frames, 3 box frames, triangulation and center position. Okay, triangulation override, calculation setting. So this overrides line calculations to all levels of ground lines and line center ground levels. G-force, rotation lines, galactic lines into federation. Federation lines a circle line rotation surface and sun communication directions in high setting. Okay? Now in that rotation, spin lines is high center interference and half pipe, center calculation sun line, grounds lines, high center interference, and travel calculation setting, indirect signals in a 12 rainbow set line, communication string line, and high calculation stream location and position. Okay? Now, when you get a system line interference, the center communication line settings and direct locations in your pyramid line rotation center. Okay, the bottom. See the bottom? See the bottom? Bottom. Okay, that signature line is going to travel line. Okay, it's travel communication line directions, right? So the heart rate active line rotation has to understand travel communications with settings. Travel calculation lines, center positions, floating line rotations, changing direct signals. All right, course lines, allocate line switch and high center interference, travel calculation setting, direct signal set location. All right? So in that position location comes in center. Center lines come back in its sun. The sun rotates the surface in position location, setting direct signals to a new capsule, a new rotation, a new surface, a new calculation setting, and redirect system. Done by equation. Okay? It's amazing how you set lines of communication setting, right? Off to your pyramid line settings. See how it's moving? All direct panels. Okay? Okay. Whew. There's a lot going on, I'll tell you. A lot of speed line rotation surface location in the system. So with the center calculation setting, directing the lines of high center interference. Now, in correlation line interactions, you guys are coming in at 80% line setting. Congratulations. Phenomenal line is a stream location in one system. So in traffic calculation line interference, 1044. Gypsy's going to love that for track communication setting, direct signals. 2 panels operation and stream location lines and set location high interference. So it's like a kaleidoscope locations to all levels, the center calculation setting to all position location binoculars. Redirecting signals line centers, 2 atom line rotations, center line rotations, 2 atom line rotations, center line condition high setting, direct system. So we take the 10 line travel, center line's a center. We take the 10 line travel, center line position. We take the 10 line center, the space-time calculation streamline, center calculation of yin and yang, process line, center line, point system locations, and direct signal of yin and yang. Now this process is line setting, okay? So this mechanism line interference, a flux path communication line, direct signal location, ground lines, operations, location, nature, center coordination line, direct signals, and position location travels in a snow globe. It looks like a snow globe in line rotation surface, okay? Now, in that signal line and high interference, the 144 travels correlation setting and direct signals, crosses streams, cross line signals, high interference, and bracket communication setting, direct signals of patterns, redirect signals, course line channels, 10 line signals, high center line interference, and position and travel communications, directing positions. Travel line center line rotation, and position locations, 80 line rotation setting, high position percentage, phenomenon line rotation center calculation. All right, that my question. See the intelligence? All right, signal line patterns, point center line and rotation interference, position location, draw line, center line interference, the three set locations, measured line interference, the triangle line interference, line position, the travel calculation, position location, high center interference, position operation line, center calculation setting. That my question. All right. So face recognition line settings, all calculation setting is all direct signal set location system to your theta line rotations into your imagination. All right. So that's set up. How's everybody feeling now on set locations? You guys are now in 80 line setting high interference. You're 20% away from 100% location in center calculation. Directing position location centers, graph line streams, 2 line signatures, 3 line rotations, 4 line positions, 5 within line calculations, barcode line center, position of 6 over 7, 3 over pi, 4 over center, and 5 position. Track communication line setting and direct signals is set location lines. Code weaving, code activation, signal line position location, operation line signal, 1 line, back to equation, signal line stream, signal lines, high line interference, travel calculation setting, 1 line signature, alpha line center, delta wave line calculation setting, alpha line calculation setting, direct signals, communication line center, add line rotation interference, communication line center line interference, travel calculation setting, direct signals, allocate line stream in line rotation position, travel calculation setting, direct signals is sun line, rotation surface, correlation setting, direct signals, high calculation streamlines, half pipe calculation center line, high calculation setting, high position location travels, yin and yang process of 6 and 9 line rotation surface, a correlation setting, direct signals, center position location operation line direction, and high system. Yeah, done by equation. Okay? Now, that set line connection high center interference is a high measure. Now, measure correlates this line setting in direct signals. So really understand how to modify the line signal streamlines is at location of travels in portal communications. All right, Jets? So redirect signals is center calculation. Okay, center calculation lines and direct signals is applications. Okay? Cool, eh? So we all have to understand how to use the patterns. Now that's going to line signal and subposition locations. Gone, but still there. All right. I love doing formulas. It's amazing. So structure of formula is the theta line rotation surface. So you're going to block line center in position triangulation. Block line center in position location triangulations. All right. Now 2 triangulation line settings sets position of the travel. Redirect center location of box line rotation surface. So it's all about understanding how to answer patterns in line conditions in the alphabetical system into your atmospheres, calculation line interference into atom line rotation of center. Okay? So you go into A, B, and C. The set lines are A, and calculations of B, and B calculations in B, and C calculations of C, and A calculations of C in set location of travel. Now, directing signals and line center line interference is understanding how to use your keyboard line string and line calculation setting and direct signal at set locations. Now, really understand how to set position location to setting and track line conditions. Okay? Now, in that direct signal, you got a panel line and string location setting, a box location system. Now, that travel calculation setting direct systems. So the A-line track, you got an A-line surface and an A-line balance and center line rotation. Directing signals, center lines of correlation. Okay? Now, in that line rotation interference, it comes into a hull, along string lines of a panel line that sets lines of a portal communication string line and set line calculation setting and redirect signals at set location. Okay. Now, once you get in that position location, you come into the center position, operation line setting. You redirect signals back and down line set location system and travel. Okay. Now, in that direct signal, we come into the triangulation line centers of 3 set location settings. Okay. Now, in that direct location system, we set the equal line setting in 1 line string. Okay. Now, in that direct signal, we set the panel lines into triangulation line. This opens all position of travel lines into all calculation setting and redirects signals in row graph string locations of data. This is import in line center interception, line setting string location, and setting position line settings of 24,000 signature line streams and lacing lines of communication direction signals and high calculation line centers of the sun and the moon and travel calculation setting in your position of balance and set location setting interference. Okay. Now, the graph line streamline interference comes in a plasma line. This walks the system. Okay, we go through plasma stream locations in a clock line rotation. Center calculation lines, high calculation streamline, and set location. Okay. Now, we go through a position lines of center. We center communication setting. You guys have to really understand how to use the set lines of communication 3, 6, 9, 6, 7, and 8, or anything through travel communication directions. All right. Now, that signals line interference. Now, in that direct signal, we come into this position, all calculations. All right. It's amazing how we set location in high setting. Okay. Now, in that direct signal, you have to understand how to set location of tone. Tone is extremely important because you have to learn how to use the frame, line setting, and track communications. Center direct signals is all about understanding how to surface your sun and set location, the sun, and direct signal to your moon of operation surface in the opposite direct line setting. The sun and the moon are always in together through face recognition set location. Done by equation. There it is. Now it's done and completed. It's all done now. See? You have to love it to see it, to understand it. Okay? All right. How's everybody doing? I just wanted to show you how you guys are face recognition line settings now in travel communication, behavioral location setting directions. All right? How it's set location in your systems, all through face recognition setting locations. All right? All right, so in that position locations, we come into this channel line setting and directions. Okay. So you have to really understand how this sets position of tone. Now this redirects the signals and set location of travel settings. Setting correlation setting directions. Let's flip it. There we go. Position of traction. All right. Always wants to get in position on high setting. There it is. Okay. Now, getting in a console line center line interference has to really understand the position of track communication to its settings. In line rotation interference of travel calculation. Okay. Directing line center interference. Now, in rotation center, you come in as 0 lines that have calculations in position the graph line, 1 string, 1 frame. Okay. Look at that. Travels and disappears. Goes too fast, guys. You got to catch up. Okay. Center line strips lines up in set location line setting. Okay. See the line setting set up. Now, in that track lines, it goes on a 45-degree angle of travel. Okay. Now, when it travels back. It has to travel back because the connection to the heartline timeline has to extend the center operation locations to its position, right? So it's calculated to modify how you set locations to your settings, to your behavioral location system, to your human residence. So it sets up wake line panels, indirect location system, a travel calculation of voice line setting. Okay. Signal lines of channels. Now, it sets lines of communication, setting line interference in the same position of pattern and position line set locations. Now, this radix signals and set locations. Now, the clock line rotation interference change position of travel lines in the sun position operation of surface locations, right? Pi of chart, pi of mind, pi of calculations, pi of stream, center of direct signals, position locations, and center line and set position. Okay. Now, in direct signal, you have to really understand how to change the set locations and setting. Now, with change position, okay, and remember, we're just adding frames. Adding frames, set location in your system in direct signal, so travel communications, all right? Now, when you direct the signal line interference, you have to be very careful because the center line changes the sun lines of the moon in travel calculation stream. All right, see how it travels lines and signature communications and patterns and set location. All right. Now, the other line center line interference comes into its dimensional cell, solar direct signals set location system. So it's half pipe with lines of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 set location of travel settings. So we set up the zero line rotation surface and the galaxy line. This shifts its anomalies and set location of high center interference of travel calculation setting, redirect signal location system, travel line centers and high signature patterns, center correlation centers of self line and high set location. Okay. Double equation. It's all set up. Okay, so one signature line crosses line, theta line rotation interference, telepathy wave line signature. Now it's done position location track line. It's crossing stream now. So we got calculations of the earth line as sonar line rotation and position of space line, travel calculation as center line setting, flux capacitor lines of left and right and center position travel, yin and yang process line calculation setting. All right, two tethers. 6 position of the perimeters and a line setting high line interference of 12 measure. Correlation in direct signals and set locations. All right. Gone, but still there. To travel. Great. Excellent. Okay, so we got the bracket line, center line interference, and zero line rotation interference, a 2-drive communication setting, direct signals, pattern calculation setting, hanger line rotations, triangulation lines, box line rotation surface. Okay. So you have to understand why it's boxed or triangulation line setting. It sets position locations and center line interference, changes communication directions and set location. Okay. So you're directing the signals, setting line rotations into behavioral location of center. Okay. And center. So it rotates the spin, calculates the lines, ground line, operation line setting, and position location of 2 donuts and set location of center in travel communications. Traveling, isn't it? All right. So 3 set lines. We set an energy hub across line setting. This redirects the signals. It redirects the signals line set location system. Okay. So sets communications. You go through lines of north, east, west, and south, and set location of travel settings and directions. Now, in that direct line setting, you come into the center communications. This opens up higher lines of high interference synergy, rotation center, high calculation streamline, and set location line setting, and high calculations interference into pattern correlation setting and directions. Okay, now you really see it traveling. Okay, so this is where it comes into on the setting line condition setting. So we take the orb channel line interference, merge correlation setting to your earth line. Earth line rotates its surface, center calculation streamline, center line rotations, platform calculation setting, 3 calculation lines. It's like a tripod, line interference, pyramid activation line setting, and theta communication, and direct signals, dependent communications. All right. Amazing how you see things through a formula. All right. So in that direct setting, we change the triangulation into a box. See how it travels? We take the hanger line in position of 0 operation. 0 lines, position lines, stream lines, set locations, high center interference. So we need position locations to center communications. It's top of the line signal on high line rotation interference and travel calculation setting. Indirect signals of 6 lines of panels of space, 6 lines of positional panels of time, and center calculation setting and set location near travel lines and high line rotation surface and position locations in pi of set location. Okay? So you look really, really close, you can really see the dynamic structure of what your avatar can co-create through its own engineer of travel. Okay, done by equation. All right. Okay, so that's going to be out of sync. All right, gone, but still there. See? So the reason why I'm setting these things up is so you can understand your theta settings. We understand more levels of the imagination location system. All right, so the center lines, opposite signal, line condition, height, center interference, travel calculation, setting directions. So we change the line signatures and zero line communication. All right. Set the panel line, high interference, and travel calculation line directions. Okay. Now, signature lines, tunnel lines, streamline interference, and set locations inside position of the pyramid. All right, so we go to the center position and center calculations. Here's the path and set location of travel. Okay. Now, directing line signals have light signature line code, center position locations. It opens up its dimensional door line, locks its system. Now, center calculations. In the tunnel, in position of laser, redirects cosmic flame, cosmic fire, serpent flame, and set location setting, indirect signal, and set location to its elixir. Okay? Travel line, send line interference, and set locations of pi, redirect signals. Okay, so it's 15 miles per second line setting and string locations. Now, this directs the signal lines as zero line operation, zero calculations, and zero and atmosphere line, stream line interference, and travel calculation of zero line rotations, calculation of streamlines and redirect signals, circle line rotation setting calculations, center position operation setting, calculation lines of zero line interference, and travel calculation setting direct signals, and set location of 12 lines, signature patterns, and calculation of string lines, and redirect signals at set location. Woo! All right, we're done. It's all set up. It's all set up. So it's amazing how you set things up in set line condition high setting, right? All right. Hope everybody had fun. Take track line interference, put them out position locations, back in earth line setting. You guys are back. Hope you had fun. So it's amazing how you do structural line setting, high line interference. Tomorrow, line signature streamlines will go into security perimeter line setting, line condition setting to all calculation of space-time creator of all volume of set locations. Okay? 5-10 minutes. See you later. Adios.